I am approaching my 100th day being sober from weed. You know, the first video I ever made on this channel was actually talking about weed. It was talking about my addiction to weed, how much I was smoking weed, why I got into weed, how long I was doing it for, all those things. And I'm finally approaching the 100-day mark of no weed. Yes, I'm tracking it, but I'm not really looking at it. I look at it like once every 40 days, really. I only knew how far along I was because I checked it today, and the last time I checked it before today was a while ago. So it's crazy to think about. I've been smoking for so long, so for me to be able to get to 100 days of no weed is insane. So I want to be able to highlight for myself, because it's been 3 months, highlight a few of the things that I have noticed that have drastically changed in terms of my mental, in terms of my life, just from being able to cut out things like weed. And I'm going to put, I think it's going to be 5 or 6. I'm going to put them up right here where I'm pointing. I'm going to hold them up here for about, 5-10 seconds. So you can look at the list real quick, and I'm going to go through every single one of them very fast. The number one massive improvement that I've seen from being sober for over 100 days is the improvement in my brain function. What do I mean by that? I mean my ability to be more focused on my work. I mean my ability to think more clearly. I mean my ability to not feel mentally fogged up. Because, usually someone like myself, I would smoke before I go to sleep. There were days where I would smoke when I would first wake up. And I would be sitting in this chair, just slumped, and I wouldn't be thinking about anything. My mind would just be, I would feel dead. I would feel like a zombie. I had no clue what was going on. Another big thing I didn't just mention was memory. Memory is one of the biggest things too. A lot of people who smoke a lot of weed start to diminish their short-term memory. And I noticed that a lot. I would, especially when I was smoking a lot, I would forget so much stuff that I had to do in the day. I would forget things that happened a few days ago. I would forget the most basic things. And that's a problem. I noticed as of, especially the past 30 days, after I hit a 60-day mark, it's not like a 30 days this happens, 60 days this happens. It's just where I was I'm just making an example. Probably 60-ish days, 70-ish days, I really noticed my memory was better. I noticed when I would wake up in the morning, I wasn't fatigued. I would feel energetic. And that gets right into the second point, which I'm going to talk about, which is the improvement of your sleep. So for a lot of people who want to understand this point and who have smoked a long time, know what I'm talking about, the sleeping and smoking weed. It's a very common thing that you smoke before you go to sleep, or maybe you've been smoking for a while and then you just started smoking going to sleep, and it's like an addiction within an addiction. You get so used to doing it that you feel like you have to do it every night. You feel like you have to smoke to go to sleep. And you feel like, and you don't feel like, you actually get so accustomed to it that you try and not smoke and sleep, you have trouble sleeping. You'll wake up throughout the night, you won't get good quality sleep, and you only can sleep when you have that weed. And realistically, you might feel like you have to do that, but studies prove that it's not good for you because you're not getting deep sleep. Your sleep quality and your sleep amount is drastically less when you smoke right before you go to sleep, or if you smoke 4 hours before you go to sleep. It's just not a good habit to get into and not a good habit to have. But for a lot of people, it's just what we do. What I noticed about maybe the first 2 weeks after I got off weed purely, because I was kind of on and off. I would not smoke for 5 days, and then I would smoke again, and then I start smoking 2-3 days again, then I get off again, and I go through that process for almost a year until I got off it fully. And I was one of those people who, smoke and would go to sleep all the time. I noticed that after 2-3 weeks of not doing it, that you genuinely are able to sleep so much easier without it. You get so used to not doing it with weed anymore that eventually your body kind of accustoms to not doing it with it anymore, and you'll get better quality sleep. You'll wake up more energetic, and you'll just feel like a whole different person. You'll just feel more alive. And that's one of the points I'm going to get into later in the video about feeling more alive. That is a big factor of everything that's combined when it comes to, not smoking weed anymore and getting off it, and what some of the benefits are. But the third point, and it's a big one for almost everyone, is the change in appetite. This is a problem that I had. Everything that I'm saying here is a problem that I had. This is a big problem that I had. I know this is a big problem that everyone has, almost everyone has, is just the increased appetite, is the overall desire to eat more, the inability to eat without smoking. It's something that, just like the sleeping thing, you get so accustomed to it that you have to eat and smoke. That might be a bigger problem than the sleeping one. I know so many people who they would want to eat food, and before maybe we go into a store and buy food, or we go to a restaurant, or they're making food in their house, before they eat their meal, they're either smoking while they're making the meal, or they'll make the meal and they'll have it down on the table, and then they're like, okay, I gotta smoke first before I eat because I'm not really hungry, so let me smoke so I can get this food down. Or maybe they're just smoking so much and they just already ate so much food, but they're smoking again after they ate and they want to eat more food, so they're just eating and eating and eating and eating. And that is a terrible habit to get into. And it's a problem that I had. It was the reason why right now I weigh about 180. When I was smoking all the time, I was 240 pounds. Think about that. I was 60 pounds heavier than what I was right now, and I was smoking every day, and all I was doing was eating. I didn't want to eat unless I smoked, and I ate so much because I smoked. It was just an endless cycle of me destroying my body, destroying my mental, and it made me super fat. Once you get off it, just for a few weeks, you'll notice your appetite start to come back in a normal way. What I do is, because I have a routine, I have a period of time where I eat. So I start eating around like 10 o'clock, and I'll stop eating around like 5, maybe even earlier than that. I try and condense my eating period. And the thing with not smoking is that I'm able to, if I want to fast, I'm able to fast longer, and I'm able to condense how much I'm eating in that period of time, because I don't feel like I have to smoke to eat. I don't feel like I have to break my fast because I want to smoke. Because you would smoke and you would just eat. You wouldn't be able to control yourself. That's how I was. That's probably one of the biggest things that people really, really want to change, especially when they're getting off weed. And one thing that you're probably going to see immediately is the increase of your desire to eat normally. Eat better foods. You don't want to just be chomping away at so much junk food. You want to eat like a specific amount, and you don't feel like you're going to overeat. And you also won't feel like you need the weed anymore to eat because you've been off it for so long. And this is one of my favorite points. And this is pretty basic. Like, everyone knows this. You get off weed for a month. One of the biggest things you're going to see as well is a drastic increase in the amount of money that you're saving. You spend so much damn money getting fucking weed. I mean, if you're going to a plug and buying weed, if you're going to the dispensary and buying weed, if you're buying in bulk so you can get weed cheaper, shit adds up, bro. I can't even imagine how much money I've spent on weed. I started smoking when I was, I think, 12 or 13 years old until right now I'm 19. So it's been like 7 years I've been smoking. I used to have my parents' allowance, and I would spend my parents' allowance every weekend to buy a cart, or I would spend my parents' allowance every weekend to buy some bud. It was a disaster. And I would do that every week until I got a job. And then I'd spend a few $100s every week here and there. I've probably spent over $10,000 on weed. Easily. I've probably spent like either high 4 figures or very, very, very low 5 figures. It ate away my money. Imagine how much more money I would have right now if I didn't do that. Imagine how much more money you would have right now if you didn't spend all that money on weed. Because the reality is, you don't need weed. Look at me. You do not need weed. Why do you need weed? Tell me. Why do you need weed? I've been smoking weed for 7 years. I've been 100 days sober. I have weed all around my house. I have a bong over there. Still, it's not mine. There's a bong over there. I have multiple carts upstairs that my dad smokes. Multiple other things up there that my dad smoke. I still have a friend that smokes. My cousins smoke. I have weed all around me, all day, every day. And I haven't touched anything for 100 days. And I don't plan to. I have no desire to. Why? Because if I go back and I get that weed and I start smoking, I'm going to start smoking here and there again. Oh, then I'm going to start smoking every day. Then what do I have to do? Well, I have to spend money to get more weed. So now I'm going to be spending money and more money and more money. What if you put that money that you got from your job, instead of putting it in weed for something that you don't even need, that's not genuinely going to benefit you in a long period of time. I understand that maybe you feel stressed and maybe on the one time you smoke some weed and you feel better for the one time and then you don't smoke weed anymore. There's people who are like that, but that's a very rare occasion for most people. They'll start smoking, they get into it, then they get addicted, and then yeah. What if you took that money that you got from your job and instead of spending it on weed, you just invested it or you just saved it or you did whatever with it? How much more money you would accumulate over time if you didn't waste so much money on going to the dispensary every goddamn week? I know how much money I would have saved. Tens of thousands. So much money. And you're probably in the same boat as me. And literally, I see, even just from the 60 days, so I mean, even just from the 100 days, I meant the first 60 days, I already saw I'm saving hundreds of dollars. It's already thousands of dollars I've saved because I'm not spending hundreds of dollars every week going to the dispensary, doing all these things. You're going to see immediately that if you can cut it out, you're going to see how much more money you're going to save. You can put that money to anything: buying healthier food, investing in yourself, skincare, going to the gym, getting a gym membership, anything. You can do anything else with that money. And finally, and this was the point that I really wanted to get to, was you feel more alive. I said that, I think, on the second or the third point. You feel more alive. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by feeling alive? I mean that you feel like yourself again. You feel like a human being. You feel like you're actually living a life. My friend is the perfect example. When we would go out and smoke, we would smoke all the time. We would be high, then we would come off the high. We'd get high again, come off the high. And he used to tell me that he's like, yeah, we've been doing this for so long, like, it doesn't even feel real. I'm like, what do you mean by that? He's like, life just doesn't feel real. Like, I just feel like I'm in a movie. I feel like I'm not living my own life. I feel like I'm living in third person. And I actually understand that so much. Have you ever felt when you smoke that you feel like you're not even looking through your own eyes? I feel like I'm not even looking through the lens of my eyes. I feel like I'm literally looking down through the back of my skull into my eyes. I don't even feel like it's me half the time when I was high. I would feel like I'm spectating someone living a life. Genuinely, that's what I would feel like. It's one of the weirdest feelings ever. But it's true. You don't even feel like you're living. You're kind of just going through the motions. And you get off that high. And for a few days, you're kind of like discombobulated. You're a little, tired, you're frustrated. And then you get off it for a few weeks. And then you realize that you wake up in the morning and you go outside and the air is a little more crisp. And the sun is a little hotter and it feels a little better on your skin. And you think more clearly. And your lung capacity is better. And you're happier. And you feel like you want to do something. You feel like you're motivated to work. You feel like you're motivated to make money. You're motivated to do X, Y, and Z. Because you just feel like you're yourself again. Because you are yourself again. The weed is out of your system. It's not there anymore. You feel like a normal person. You feel like how you should feel. You feel like how everyone else feels when they're not on it all the time. And that's how you want to feel. That's probably what you are chasing. You're chasing something. You're probably smoking because, maybe you're upset about something that happened and you just started smoking. Or maybe you've been smoking for a long time like me and you got into it and you've just been smoking here and there just because you're so used to smoking. It's like a normal part of your day. There's so many reasons why people get into smoking. And it's the same story of all the other people that I talk to. They don't feel like themselves anymore. They just feel like they're going through the motions. They just feel like things are just weird. They just feel off. You know how people say we live in a simulation? That's what people say they feel like. Get off weed just for like 2 weeks and you're going to notice. And that's what I noticed immediately. I would wake up in the morning. The first thing I would do is I would literally just go outside and I would just stand outside. Or I'd go for a quick walk. I just stand outside and go for a walk. And the first thing I noticed was I was like, wow, the sun feels good. I'm feeling nice. It's beautiful outside. I'm ready to get my day started. I'm not thinking I'm getting out of bed. I feel like I just had 1,000 shots the night before. And the first thing I do when I get out of bed is I take a rip of my cart. And then I'm walking around my house. I can't even open my eyes. My head feels absolutely burnt out because I've been smoking all day. I feel refreshed. I feel like I'm ready to kill shit. I feel like myself. And those are just 5 of the things that I've noticed. Only 5. There's so many more. you're gonna notice so many things. Everyone is different. The things that I notice may not be the things that you notice, but these are things that I have personally noticed, things that I've seen my friends notice that have been smoking for almost as long as me. These are 5 of the main benefits that you will more than likely see from quitting weed. And if you're not motivated to quit weed, and if you're struggling to quit weed and you want to quit but you can't, listen to me real fast. It's not fucking easy. I'm telling you, people who say you can't get addicted to weed and weed isn't addictive, they've never been addicted to weed. Weed is addictive. You can get addicted to weed. I hate this persona and this idea that you can't get addicted to it. It's a drug. You can still get addicted to weed. The same way you can get addicted to coke, the same way you can get addicted to eating sugary foods, the same way you can get addicted to watching YouTube all day. It's the same shit. You can get addicted to so many things. So why can't you get addicted to weed? Why can't you? You can. And many people have, and many people still are. If you're looking to quit, just understand that it's not easy to quit. It's not easy. It's hard. You need to push through. You're going to fail. You're going to try and quit, and you're going to get 5 days, and you're going to fail, and then you're going to go longer and fail, and then you're going to go longer and fail, and then you maybe go shorter and you fail. Maybe you have a huge hiccup period. But you can't stop trying, because eventually, if you don't give up and you just remove the weed from where you are, let's say you're buying weed, or you have people like myself. I have my father who smokes weed. It's difficult for me, but I have trained myself to not touch any of that stuff. But if you live by yourself and no one else in your house smokes, like a brother or a sister or your family, and you're the only person who has weed on you, get rid of it all. The bongs, the papers, the carts, everything, get rid of it all. Throw it out. There's no reason to have it. Remove everything. If you're on Telegram chats, remove yourself from those Telegram chats and uninstall Telegram. Remove those people from your Snapchat. Get rid of the numbers. Do whatever you have to do if you want to quit, because it is very difficult. You will feel like you want to go back. You will feel like you need to go back. But if you just push through, eventually you will get to a point where you know you will be able to quit. And once you get there and you hit that period where you're like, I don't want to smoke anymore, and you haven't been smoking for a while, and you say, I don't want to smoke anymore. I don't like smoking anymore. I just don't want to do it. It's one of the best feelings you're ever going to feel.